I am about to make a very controversial video here. This is something I've been holding back on making a video about until now, and with what I'm about to say, I should probably do a recap before we get to the topic of today. In 2016, I saw Batman v Superman in theaters, my first DCEU film. I did not and still haven't seen Man of Steel yet, so I can't give my thoughts on that film right now. My experience with Batman v Superman was rather underwhelming. As we all know, it was not a well-received film from critics, which is something no DC fan or any general audience was expecting from a film called Batman vs. Superman, but it's happened. The audience score might tell us the general opinion of the film is good, but I came out of it rather disappointed, and as time went on, my thoughts on the film haven't gotten any better. The plot was messy, the arcs were non-existent, Superman had nothing going in his own movie, Batman fucking killed people, Eisenberg was Lex Luthor. Why? And for how they released this film in theaters was a complete joke, missing a lot of scenes that explain some plot holes in the theatrical cut, like the courtroom scene and the supposed Superman homicide at the beginning. But even the ultimate cut wasn't that much of an improvement in terms of plot and characters. It was just not a good movie. Then Suicide Squad came out, and they pretty much had the same problems. The plot was messy, the light and dark tones meshed poorly with each other, some characters had no development like Katana and Killer Croc, the editing gave me a headache, the dialogue was really bad, Jared Leto was the Joker. Why? And overall, it was just a badly put together movie. Who in their right minds would take two cuts of the same movie, but with huge differences in tones, with one of those cuts being made by their trailer editors, and try to merge those two into one film thinking it would flow well? You have scenes where they are supposed to be taken seriously, but thanks to the power of reshoots, they have a bad joke in between that fucks the drama to the dirt. They're trying to be Guardians of the Galaxy, but didn't have a clue on how James Gunn managed to pull off the multiple character developments and the pop culture theme it had. The only saving graces of this movie was Harley Quinn and Deadshot. I thought those two were the best parts of the film. Unfortunately, Margot Robbie and Will Smith's performances alone cannot save this absolute mess. Even back then, I thought the film was average at best. Looking back at it now, it might just be the worst DCEU film they have released by far. Then Wonder Woman came out a year later. Wonder Woman was good, but it was not 94% worthy. While the plot and character developments have improved, the comedy and dark moments were balanced well compared to Suicide Squad and the one film to follow, it still suffered from weak villains, pace issues, and some pretty shoddy CGI. I mean, that opening where Kid Diana was jumping off the ledge? Holy shit, where did all the money go for that shot? Nevertheless, One Hit Wonder Woman was a decent film, but that didn't give me much confidence for the next movie. Batman vs. Superman and Suicide Squad was strike one and strike two for me. Wonder Woman could have very well been strike three if they messed it up, but they were able to get away from that. However, just because that film broke the streak doesn't mean I was gonna reset my strikes. I was very skeptical with Justice League because of two things. One, it was once again going through the same problems as BVS and Suicide Squad. It was going to be reshot, which would have blown this film's budget to $300 million, and Joss Whedon was taking the part of the reshoots, which means the tone was once again going to be completely unbalanced. Then there's the trailers, which didn't interest me, but hey, you know, just because the film's trailers is bad doesn't mean the film might be. But besides that, this was going to be my third strike. If Justice League turns out to be another failure, then I would not go and see another DCU film going forward unless they can prove to me they can still crank out another good film. And guess what happened? Yep, strike free, DC. You're out, and so am I. This, I don't even know how to describe it. Oh, I know, I'll do what Justice League did, where they made the same exact mistakes as the last two other films, and make the same points I made with those last two films. The plot was all over the place. It was poorly cut together. They wasted J.K. Simmons as Gordon. Goodbye him as Jameson in any future Spider-Man movies. Thanks, Warner Brothers. Batman was stupid, and Affleck phoned in his performance. I fucking hated how the film looked with its shitty color palettes. Steppenwolf was a joke and looked like shit. The CGI was the worst this universe had to offer. Cavill's mustache lip made him look like he had a botched Botox. The Flash was just Spider-Man from Civil War. Cyborg was nothing. The tone, fuck you. The dialogue was horrendous, and the fight scenes were pathetic. So yeah, that film was my first strike. And going forward, I have kept my word to not go and see any other DCEU film in the future. And yes, that does mean I won't be seeing Wonder Woman 2. So you know you have it bad when I won't even be seeing the sequel to arguably the best DCEU film so far. And then comes Aquaman Shazam. Unlike the rest, which I had skepticism but would still go out and watch them, I instantly wrote both these films off, saying I'm not going to see these films. Now, sure, Shazam looks kind of fun with how they're handling the character, and the comedy actually seemed kind of genuine instead of forced, but Aquaman's trailers, while were visually cool, were not intriguing. And then fast forward today, where we hear that apparently Aquaman actually made $1 billion, which did surprise me because with a character like Aquaman and the general opinions on the DCEU, you think it would have either made a modest profit or broke even at the very least. But here is why, despite the big numbers, I'm still not going to see Aquaman. For one, I am not big on Jason Momoa being a character. I thought he would have fit better as the DC character Lobo instead, but he just did not sell as Aquaman for me. Second, for how Warner Bros. Is course correcting their future projects, it all sounds like an absolute mess, with Affleck supposedly leaving the Batman role and not working on the solo Batman films, Cavill being replaced with Michael fucking B. Jordan because that makes sense, the Flash movie being a supposed soft reboot for the series by doing Flashpoint, and making a Suicide Squad 2 for reasons I cannot begin to wrap my head around. None of this is telling me that with the success of Aquaman, the DCEU will get better going forward. On the contrary, this all sounds like an absolute bigger disaster waiting to happen, more so than Justice League. And lastly, and I know this might be a very anal thing to point out, if the best score Aquaman can get for a film that people say will supposedly save the DCEU is only a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, with top critics being rotten on 50%, then it will go one or two ways. I will either not like it or find it okay at best. Now sure, there is the chance that I might actually enjoy it, but consider my past DC experiences where I had the same mindset going into those movies. Now some will say, why listen to the critics for what they have to say? You should be listening more to the audiences since an audience score is more populated than critics score, and some audiences don't go into these movies with biased thoughts unlike what critics have been doing recently. And for the most part, you are right, but all those DCEU films fans have told me to watch and not listen to the critics' opinions on, my thoughts on them have been in order, average, awful, and bad. So I can't take their words on those either. So yeah, those are my thoughts on why I won't watch Aquaman. I just don't have hope for this universe going forward. But like I said, If they can prove to me they can still make a high quality film, one that isn't based on box office numbers, then I might give them another shot. But for now, I'm keeping that streak going. With one exception. I am interested in the Joker movie, mainly because Leo's not playing the Joker this time, but for real, what we see in this teaser and in promo shots does make this a very interesting take on the story of the Joker, and I would like to see what Joaquin Phoenix has in store for us as the character. But that's all I can give them. Now, what do you guys think of this video? Did I have a point and you're with me on this one, or are you not with me and there's something about the universe that I am missing? And have you guys seen Aquaman yet? If so, what do you think about it? And if you didn't, why? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you're gonna talk about the movie in detail, put a spoiler warning at the beginning so you don't ruin someone's day. Thanks for watching, and Warner Brothers, fuck you.